Peace, peace. Yeah. So, yo, Salah King Watch right here, also known in the business world by Shahid. And this right here is the Mental Wealth Podcast. This is something new rolling out. This is my test run right here. Test the pulse, test the temperature, see what's going on. So this is I'm live right here streaming on Facebook. I'm live streaming on YouTube channel, Mental Wealth. You hear a lot of times, people say, well, your health is your wealth. And so when you hear that, it becomes like a cliche. Oh, your health is your wealth. But one thing I want to say is the same way people talk about mental health, I'm here to bring you mental wealth. And so what's basically what I'm saying when I'm talking about mental wealth. I'm speaking about the state of your mind, your mindset. That's what I'm talking about with mental wealth. Because you hear a lot of people in the world of business. It's a lot of people starting companies these days. A lot of people they're trying to scale businesses. And I'm mainly speaking about those from the underserved communities, those from minority communities where the resources seem to be scarce. However, one of the greatest resources that we have that a lot of times get overlooked is the mind. Your mind is your greatest resource. Your mind is your greatest asset. And so learning how to use your mind properly, how to use your mind effectively will allow you to be able to access other assets. You will be able to have access to more use case, meaning that it's a lot of things that's already around you that you have access to. Yet, if you don't have the right mindset, if your mind is not in a place where it's able to be healthy, having a healthy mindset, that's what mental wealth is about. Mental wealth is having a healthy mindset. How do you have a healthy mindset? The way that you have a healthy mindset is by understanding what your purpose is as an individual. How do you figure out what your purpose is as an individual? This is an examination of yourself as a person and looking at certain things about yourself, such as what do you attract to the most? What type of thoughts occupy your mind the most? What are you thinking about the most? Then it goes into what do you do the most? Where do you find, yourself being drawn into more than anything else? That's one of the first place, or that's one of the first places rather, that you start to begin to understand what your purpose is, because we find ourselves where we are. And when I say we find ourselves where we are, meaning that wherever you are at right now in your mental state, in your physical life, in your financial status, your career, or your business, or your entrepreneur, or you're doing both. You hybrid. You working at a company for someone else, and then on the side, you started your own business, and you striving to scale your business and reach a place where you no longer have to work for someone else, and you're just working for yourself. In that space or in those places is where you're going to find yourself and what your purpose is. And once you really analyze that, it's going to make your pathway to success, and that success is whatever you classify success to be for you. Because one thing about it, when you find your purpose, when you realize what you are here to do, then that's how you're going to be able to measure your success. Because you can't try to measure your success according to someone else. Because if you try to measure your success according to someone else, you're not going to really be having what I call mental wealth. You're not going to be able to have happiness. You're not going to be able to enjoy yourself because you're going to be trying to live up to something that might not be meant for you. This may be meant for the other person, the person that you're looking at and trying to measure yourself up to. There's nothing wrong with having role models. There's nothing wrong with having people that you see and you kind of like how they move. You see some things in them that you see in yourself, or you see a level of accomplishments, or you see that they have reached a certain level that you already want to reach. And that could be inspiration for you. And it's all how you handle your thoughts about it. Because if you see someone that is doing something that you would like to do, they have achieved some goals that you would like to achieve. If you don't have the proper mindset, that could lead you into being jealous and envious of that person. And that produces mental illness. That's one of the ways you can go into having a mental illness, and you won't have mental wealth. And when I'm saying mental wealth is having a healthy mindset that is based on knowing who you are and what your purpose is. That's what it's all about. You can acquire all the material resources that you desire and still not have a peace within yourself and still not have what is described as happiness. Now, here's the thing. You find some people who would say, oh, the material things doesn't really mean nothing. You don't need material things to be happy. Technically, you don't need material things to be happy. Yet having material things is a major part of experiencing happiness. It's not the maker or breaker of happiness, meaning that even if you don't have certain material things, doesn't mean you still can't be happy. Yet when we talking about total satisfaction, meaning that from a holistic level, because we are whole beings, like we consist of layers, meaning that you have a mental part of you, a physical part of you, an emotional part of you, and then some people talk about the spiritual side. All these things coincide with your entire makeup. And not to get too deep in all of that, but the main thing is, how do you position yourself to experience mental wealth? Again, it's a holistic process. It's a holistic experience. So if you don't have the proper mindset, then irregardless of what you obtain materialistically, you still won't be able to experience the real reality of happiness. That's the best way I can explain it. And so, like I said, man, you got a lot of people who got all type of platforms. They speaking about this, they speaking about that. And a lot of times these platforms they fueled by a lot of negative, a lot of gossip, a lot of rumors, a lot of lies. People using all forms of trickery, forms of manipulation of 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 facts. They take facts and bend them around all type of ways. Just sometimes they just straight up just lie to people just to attract attention, just to attract people to listen to them, want to hear what they got to say or see what's going on and all of that. And this is one of the main reasons why we have a lot of mental illness going on. It's like that's one of the real reasons why you see a lot of people experiencing anxiety, depression, You see a lot of people struggling to make financial ends meet from day to day responsibilities. It's because your foundation, which is your mind, your foundations, which is in your internal reality, your internal experience or experience, those things are filtered, or not even filtered. Those things are filled with a lot of toxic, negative bullshit. That's just basically what it is. And then you may be trying to figure out like why you having these experiences that you are experiencing, such as anxiety, depression, just feeling overly pressured mentally. These things happen with what I call is a fine mist, hard to be detected by the naked eye. The same way, you can look up in the sky and you can see the clouds, right? And you can see the rain when it's, raining outside. You can see all that. But a lot of people don't know where was the base from which all of that came from to get to that point of a cloud and the rain coming down. And so, as we continue to go through this experience with the mental health, with the mental wealth, rather, mental wealth, the wealth of the mental, with what I got going on here with this podcast, so you call it podcast, I don't even like the podcasting because I don't even really try to hop on what you say, like the bandwagon, a lot of stuff that's going on. Me, I'm just being me and expressing a lot of things that I have to share with the world that I have seen to be valuable, which I already share within my peer group, with my mentees, individuals that I mentor. I already share this information with them. This is like regular conversation for me. This is not like I'm reaching out to put myself in some type of category to be seen in the same light as a lot of other people you see on camera or podcasts or, live streaming or life business coaches and all that stuff like that. One thing about me, I'm very genuine. I'm genuine about what I do. I do this regardless if it's any type of payment associated with it or not. However, it's profit with a purpose that becomes sustainability, because we live in a world where, in a capitalist society, you have to know how to obtain resources. And one of the primary resources that the majority of the population focus on is cash. And because people focus on cash a certain way, it's almost like the more you focus on the cash, the less access you have to it. That's kind of like crazy, right? For example, if you don't already have cash flow, and I'm speaking this, let's say you're a business, you're a business owner, you're a startup, and you don't have any cash flow. You don't have your credit profile on a level where you qualify for funding from banks. So what it is, which is crazy. This seems like it's like kind of like backwards, so to speak, or it really doesn't make this is not logical sense. So this is what I'm saying. If you don't have cash flow in your business, meaning that you don't have sales, there's no sales coming in, there's no income from your business taking place, and you go to the bank and say, oh, I want a loan, I want a business loan, I want an installment loan, they're going to say, well, let me see your financials. They take a look. Oh, you don't have any income, you don't have any sales coming in, so they don't want to give you any money. Same thing if you go to apply for business credit. They're going to look to see. They're going to check your personal credit, first of all. As a startup business, you're striving to gain access to business credit. If you have been seeking to obtain credit from multiple places within a short period of time, they look at that and say, oh, he's hungry for money. So they like, we're not going to give you any. You got too many inquiries within a certain period of time. And so you look like you're really hungry for some money. they're not going to give you access to the credit. If you don't have any cash flow, they're not going to give you access to funding. And if you do find someone that's going to give you access to funding without you having cash flow, they're going to look at your personal credit. And your personal credit is your history of how you have managed your finances, how well you have managed debt. Because when you use credit, that's a form of debt. And when you get a loan from a financial institution, that's a form of debt, meaning that you owe them back what they gave you, and sometimes you owe them interest on what they gave you, depending upon what type of structure or relationship you entered into in regards to that. So if you are appearing to be in dire need of finance, hungry for money, they give you access to it. Here's the flip side. Let's say you got cash flow, you got sales coming in. Let's say you got like $10,000 to $15,000 of cash flow taking place within your bank account, your business bank account. And then you go to the bank and say, "Oh, I would like to get a business loan." They're gonna look at your business revenue, and they're gonna make a decision based off that. But they're gonna be more eager, for the lack of a better way to explain it, they're gonna be more inclined to give you funding now because you have cash flow already. Your credit score is in a good place, and you haven't been reaching out to apply for a lot of credit in a short period of time. Let's say you haven't applied for any credit in 90 days to 6 months to a year, something like that. And your credit profile is in the right place, meaning that you're showing that you really don't necessarily need it, yet to have it available to scale and leverage your company to a better position, they're going to give you the access to the credit because you really don't necessarily need it, yet it's there because in the world of business, in the capitalist economy, it's other people's money, OPM, which allows you to scale at a certain rate, at a certain pace, because in the world of business, it's about fast scale a lot of times, the velocity of money. So, you can be making money, but it's over a period of what time is this money being made to where you can really see what type of leverage does this money have. Meaning that if you made $1 million over a course of 10 years, yeah, you can say, yeah, okay, I made $1 million, but it took you 10 years to achieve that, which is still, a great achievement. But let's say you were able to achieve $1 million in 6 months. Now that's a different type of leverage of that $1 million. That $1 million has a different type of evaluation on it. And I know it's kind of like that might be a little too much sometimes for people who are coming from a startup perspective and don't have generational wealth knowledge, because generational wealth is founded genuinely on generational mental wealth. And what is generational mental wealth? That's knowledge being passed down from one generation to the next generation to the next generation on the operations of economics, financial intelligence. You hear people talk about financial literacy. What I talk about is financial, which is a little bit slightly different from financial literacy, and in most cases is way different than financial literacy. Just depends upon what perspective you're coming from with it. So yeah, this is the mental wealth edition going on right here. Mental wealth. And you can get some of this from my book Wizetics that I recently published over the summer. Put this out over summer. Wizetics. It's published by Wise Network Academy. The Prosperity Code for Underserved Entrepreneurs. And so in this version, this is like kind of like a revised version from the first one, which was paperback. But then when I redid it in the form of hardcover, I added 2 appendix. And in these 2 appendix, it goes into I put a toolkit in here. I added that part. "60-Day Transformation, Life, Business, 60-Day Transformation." I go into the foundation of Wizetics. Matter of fact, that's the other part of the appendix. The toolkit is in the first version. But what I go into as for the other add-ons, which is an appendix 1, is the foundation of Wizetics. So I'm breaking down basically what is Wizetics, and how it's a system of creation, and why the world needs a new system, a paragon for the people. It says a paragon. A paragon is a model. We already know what it is. It's like an excellent model of excellence. A brief economic history from mercantile to modern capitalism. And then the other appendix is the Wizetic Blueprint to Power, a unified economic philosophy of Black excellence and global empowerment. And so from that is me going into the history of what you may call the Black economic journey from us in the United States of America, from the days and evolving through different stages of growth and development, where you see major milestones with people like Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali. You got Master Farah Muhammad, all the way up to Allah, the Father. But within those stages of growth and development, there's different authors of systems. You had different scholars, so like I said, such as Marcus Garvey, and then you have individuals like Dr. Claude Anderson, Powernomics and the vertical integration. Like that is what you got in the appendix, and it's basically showing you how Wizetics is an outgrowth from these roots of Black scholars who provided us with different frameworks of how we can structure ourselves in obtaining wealth and generational wealth, providing the structure on how you basically become financially free. To sum it all up, it's financial freedom. And one of the things that I like really emphasize is it starts with the mindset. And so this is what we got right here. We coming with this. I got to get ready to go because I got a meeting. With everybody. Let me see. I think, yeah, let me get ready for this meeting right here. So yeah, see y'all the next go round. Mental wealth with Allah King Wise, so known as Wise Shahid. Peace. Oh yeah, before I go, Papa Wu forever. Peace.